CC, were you more impressed by the Packers, or are you more concerned with the Seahawks after watching this game?
I would say more impressed with the Packers. Because if the Packers, I'm not going to put too much pressure on Dom Capers, the defensive coordinator. He's gotten a lot of criticism over the last several years. But if the Packers, if they happen to have a top 10 defense, they're going to the Super Bowl. I mean, yesterday, their ability to be able to stop Seattle from what they want to do. Eddie Lacy, I know he might have made the weigh-ins, right, Nick? He made a lot of money this offseason. Yeah. But
he was terrible.
He's running now like he's got bricks in his pockets. Now, Eddie Lacy was ineffective, a lot because the penetration of the defensive line. Their front seven made more plays behind the line of scrimmage and also harassed Russell Wilson. So that was the most impressive part, because if they're able to continue to do that, we know Aaron Rodgers, eventually, methodically, he's going to make 2 or 3 plays. He's the best at getting the team to jump offside and getting a free play, throwing it down the field. But I have to say, all last week, the #1 analyst for Green Bay, right here, Jenna Wolfe.
Oh, yeah.
Because what did she say?
When they're off schedule, Aaron Rodgers goes and kills them.
When their offense is off schedule.
I said off script.
Off script, which means off schedule. Yep. That means if there's a free runner in the backfield, there's a blitzer, all the things the coaches can't design, Aaron Rodgers is the best in the business. And that's what you're able to see yesterday. First down, getting them out of bad plays, converting third downs. He's the best in the business. But with a defense that's in the top 10, the Green Bay Packers are definitely Super Bowl contenders.
Here's why I am much more concerned with Seattle. Because I do not think Green Bay has anything close to a top 10 defense. But they sure looked like it yesterday. So why did they look like it yesterday? Seattle's offensive line, which was the reason last year that Seattle wasn't a real Super Bowl contender, has somehow gotten worse. Russell Wilson was under pressure on 40% of his dropbacks. To give you some comparison, Aaron Rodgers was under pressure less than 20% of his. Russell Wilson under pressure, 2 out of every 5 times he drops back, he's got someone in his face. The left tackle, Rees Orihambo, I apologize if I mispronounce it, gave him a sack, 2 hits, 3 hurries, was terrible. They could get nothing going on the ground. They could get nothing going offensively at all because they were constantly under attack. And if Seattle was playing its own D-line, then I would say, okay, maybe it was just the defense was too good. I do not believe Green Bay's defense is going to be very good this year. And so if Green Bay's defense isn't going to be that good, how is Seattle going to do when they play the Arizona Cardinals defense? While the Cardinals have trouble on offense, it looks like that defense still has a bunch of monsters on it. How is Seattle going to do throughout the year when they play the Rams defense in a few weeks? Aaron Donald will be back. Like, how are they going to block anybody? That's my concern, because I'm not concerned with Seattle's defense. I thought Seattle's defense played brilliantly and got screwed, actually, and which we can talk about later, by a terrible call early. But Seattle's offensive line was so bad, I think it could kneecap their whole season.
I met a butcher here in New York. Good butcher.
Of course you did.
And he taught me something. But he taught me something about meat. I didn't think I'd be able to transfer it over to football. He knows who a couple guys told him who I was and everything. He's a big football fan. And he's like, Mr. Carter, what would you like? And I was like, I would like that filet. He was like, I need to tell you something. Good meat, not cheap. I was like, okay. And then I went down a little bit and everything, went down to the sirloin. I pointed to that. He said, Mr. Carter, cheap meat, not good. That's where John Snyder and Pete Carroll and them are as far as the offensive line.
It's a long bridge to build, but you got us there, brother.
Last in compensation. If you're looking at which group makes the least amount of money, the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. Least paid last year. Now, the left tackle is already out for the season. So you got concerns at offensive line. They have a great offensive line coach in Tom Cable, but he can't perform miracles. With that, they haven't spent any money because of the Russell Wilson contract and the bad trade to Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is they had a good offensive lineman, Max Unger.
Yes.
Instead, they traded him away for an expensive tight end. An expensive tight end they're not even using.
They needed Jimmy Graham to be a #1 receiver, and he's not.
No. And, all right, Go ahead, Jenna.
No, I was just going to say, so what do you do? Russell Wilson doesn't get it done in the air. Russell Wilson doesn't get it done on the ground. How do you fix this?
This is how it breaks down. They got 8 home games. They have the biggest home field advantage in all of sports.
Plus, you toss in the 49ers next week.
At the least, they're going to win 7 games at home. All right? So on the road, all they have to do is go 5-3. That's 12-4.
Well, and
with a bad offensive line. That's like the worst they could do. 11-5, if it's a disaster, but they're going to be 12-4, 13-3 at the end of the season because they got 8 home games. Who's going to beat them there?
Well, listen, I think they're going to win their division.
Look at your schedule.
I'm looking at it, but and I agree with you about the home games, but they have to go on the road to the Giants. They have to go on the road to Dallas. There's 2 games that I don't know that they can block those guys. And I don't know they can outscore Dallas, but they're going to win their division. Arizona looks like they have a broken quarterback. The Rams aren't going to get to play the Colts every week. And the Niners, as you mentioned, are the Niners. So they'll be able to win their division. But Seattle, you don't trade for Sheldon Richardson, spend all this money on your team so you can just win your division again and then get knocked out. They're trying to win a Super Bowl. And if I am Seattle, I've said for my entire career, blaming the refs is for losers. But, man, if I were a Seahawks fan, I'd be angry at those refs. In a low-scoring game, the refs stole 2 touchdowns from Seattle. The first one was as bad of a dual calls as I've ever seen. Aaron Rodgers throws his first interception in 250 attempts. What you're going to see after this interception right there is a block in the back. Rodgers didn't even stumble. It hit him in the shoulder. That is not a block in the back, and it didn't affect the play. And right there, what you're going to see is allegedly a punch. People were tweeting me, why didn't Fox show the Jeremy Lane punch? Because it didn't flip and happen. Like, it was the big game on Fox, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, every camera angle in the world. They throw Jeremy Lane out of the game, which had a butterfly effect on the rest of the secondary. They take a touchdown off the board early. And then late in the game, Jimmy Graham gets molested in the back of the end zone. It was as blatant of a pass interference as you'll see. It should have been 1st and goal from the 1, and they don't throw a flag. If Green Bay played well, Seattle, despite the offensive line trouble, could have and maybe should have won that game if either of those calls go the right way. And this is a game you could look to. If you're right, the Seahawks could be 12-4.
Yes.
This could be the tiebreaker between who gets home field advantage, the head-to-head tiebreaker. It's a brutal turn of events for them.
There's always a bad call or a controversial call. Say the last 3 or 4 times Seattle and Green Bay have played. The Jimmy Graham pass interference, it definitely should have been pass interference. Jimmy Graham's got to be a better actor in those situations. I disagree with you with the block in the back. And the reason why, Nick, is because he put his hand on his back. Now,
Rodgers didn't even fall, didn't affect the play.
It slowed him down. It's not a matter of do you clip a guy or block him in the back, does it affect the play? No, you can't block a guy in the back. Matter of fact, the coaches teach this. When I coach Little League, Nick, this would be good for you. Son, when you can read the other kid's name, don't block him because his back is to you. And that's why they called it. Now, that was because he couldn't help the play. He couldn't help the play. So that one right there, I don't call that on the referees. That's a legitimate call. He should have let Aaron Rodgers make the tackle. But the Jimmy Graham, definitely pass interference.
Does the Butcher's son play for the Little League team?
No, the Butcher's a good butcher.
Okay.
Right?
He learns something every time he goes to get something to eat.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.